Today's edition of To the Point, very generously produced by the American Acupuncture Council. Today, my guest is Greg Lee, and Greg has extensive background and experience in treating Lyme disease and the various co-infections, the other tick-borne illnesses. He is going to tell you more about himself, and we're going to talk specifically about using essential oils to treat these infections or various tick-borne illnesses. And he's going to explain why he used them, what the advantages are, and talking about things like biofilms, which if you're not familiar with is really very vital for treating them. And the different ways that you can use to deliver essential oils in these patients. And he has some very innovative ways in which he does this. And, he's going to talk about the kind of oils he uses and a lot of other things. So, Greg, I want to turn it over to you since I'm sure people are really eager to hear what you have to say. Maybe you could tell us how you got into this first.
Oh, thank you, Virginia. And also want to thank the American Acupuncture Council for graciously allowing me to come on and talk with you today. So today I'm going to just talk about basically what are some of the main blocks that I see in Lyme disease patients that are underneath their relapsing symptoms and how essential oils can help practitioners to overcome them. So basically, this presentation is for two types of practitioners. One, if you're just getting started, and you'll learn about some essential oils that may be helpful for these patients that have chronic illnesses, chronic infections, and also for more advanced practitioners that have, seen perhaps a larger number of chronic Lyme patients. And these are some remedies that can really help you get these patients beyond where they're stuck or plateaued. Okay? All righty. So a little bit, the agenda for me is like, why should you listen to me? Who am I anyway? And then also, what are the 5 main blocks? And then what are some essential oils that can help you overcome those blocks? And then also, we'll be talking about some delivery methods that are very helpful in treating Lyme patients. A little bit about my background. I'm an engineer by training, used to work on NASA projects, on robotics, Hubble Space Telescope, used to work with astronauts and doing experiments on them using robotics. I'm also was a partner in a leadership training corporation called Lionheart, and also have a master's of acupuncture from the TAI, which is now Maryland University of Integrative Health, and also Chinese herbs. And a little bit about my center. We're located in Frederick, Maryland, in a biotech research facility. I have lots of MDs, PhDs that I have fun conversations in the hallway with. And in our center, we've treated over 1,000 patients with Lyme, tick-borne infections, chronic illnesses over the past 20 years. And one of the things that's really helped is making custom engineered essential oils that are tailored to each person's underlying issues. One of the tools that helps us is an experimental electrical frequency scanning system where we can look at over 1,000 different infections, toxins, inflammatory, cytokine, frequencies through that scanning system. So that really helps us to narrow in on what are the main issues that most are in need of treatment in the beginning.
Mhm.
So why Lyme may be a hidden issue in your relapsing symptom patients, because obviously we're in the middle of a pandemic. Lyme disease is a hidden epidemic with an estimated 2 million new cases in the US alone this year, according to a Brown University study. And unfortunately, ticks can carry over 80 different infections that are called co-infections besides Lyme disease. And the testing that most primary care practitioners use is something called they still use something called the ELISA and also the Western blot. And according to one study, Western blot blood tests, the ones that are available from the standard labs, are about 50% accurate. So basically half of the people.
You might as well flip a coin.
Yeah, you might as well flip a coin. Exactly. And according to the CDC, 90% of cases are misdiagnosed. I think they reported, what is it, 300 something thousand, but they're saying this is probably approximately 10% of the actual number of cases out there. So, and the presentation of these patients can vary depending on, what a lot of different factors in terms of their genetics, their ability to detox, pre-existing conditions, and other infections that may be present. So a lot of patients, I started off treating a lot of fibromyalgia patients, and behold, a lot of them actually had Lyme disease, chronic fatigue, rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, MS, dementia, Parkinson's, depression, anxiety. Those are all diagnoses I've seen hundreds and hundreds of times in patients that have an underlying tick-borne infection, Lyme disease, or co-infection. Okay, so what I want to talk about is really diving into what are the main blocks that I'm seeing in these patients, and then how can I help you, give you some tools and insights into these blocks, and then some essential oils that are helping my patients to overcome them. So first one basically is biotoxins, where I'll talk in more detail about these, but basically infections produce toxins. And then you have inflammation that your immune system produces to try to say, hey, we got an infection or we got toxins, we need to go and deal with it. And it produces different kinds of inflammatory compounds. And also these infections have evolved. They create something called biofilms, which are basically slime as a protection. And then also, as I mentioned earlier, ticks can carry over 80 different infections besides Lyme. So the co-infections that they can carry, they're not just, it can range from all different kinds of pathogens. And then also one of the major things that I'm seeing a lot of is environmental mold, toxic exposure in patients. All righty, so we'll move on here. Let's dive into biotoxins. So Lyme, co-infections, other infections, parasites produce biotoxins that disrupt the host's immune system. Often you may hear of the Th1, Th2 immune response. One of them is more for fighting infections like Lyme, and other is more for fighting infections like parasites. Well, the biotoxins then say, hey, go produce more inflammatory immune compounds, go fight parasites, and reduce the ones that are going to affect, bacteria like Lyme or spirochetes like Lyme. And then also these biotoxins are small. They're about the size of a water molecule. So since they're so small, they can travel from cell to cell. They're also in the blood too, but also their ability to create symptoms deeper into tissues that change, that migrate, and relapse because they're so small and can wander into muscles, joints, the brain, go inside cells. And as patients are given antimicrobial treatments or remedies or just do their own immune activation, they often report a toxic die-off reaction of their infections, which has been labeled a Herxheimer reaction, where you have a sudden influx of toxins, which drives up inflammation, which then drives up symptoms. And those symptoms can be like what I described before, could be, brain fog, fatigue, pain, inflammation, swelling, gut issues, bloating, diarrhea, a wide range of these symptoms. And they can change over time depending on, the person and what kind of toxins are being released. And then this is a phenomenon that was described, in Chinese medicine texts over 1,000 years ago in the goose syndrome methodology. I was very fortunate to have spend time with Dr. Heiner Fruoff at his great, amazing home out in Oregon, and learn, wow, these Chinese medicine docs who had the goose syndrome totally are describing what I'm seeing in Lyme disease patients, 1,500 years later. So, there's this great history that we can draw upon, a strategy for treating not only the biotoxins, but the other issues I'll be talking about right away.
Yeah, doesn't
Okay.
it always amaze you how they figured this stuff out thousands of years ago? It's just
Yeah, if we only all could read Chinese, we could probably solve half the world's problems. We just have to, hey, oh yeah, we solved that 400 years ago. Why are you still trying to research that? So, yeah, but there's something about inventing something that you think is new and getting credit for that it's very entrepreneurial in the US. So but let's jump back into inflammation next here. So inflammation is often produced in response to infections, toxins, heavy metals. Many of my patients become metal toxic because, for whatever reason, it could be aluminum, mercury from dental amalgams, it could be lead, it could be cadmium that I'm seeing in these patients in their scans, and this can increase inflammation and other symptoms, which can mimic a lot of Lyme disease symptoms. And as a result, it can affect all different systems and different combinations that can fluctuate, that can change, and over time, and it's very hard to say, okay, here's this one symptom that's its signature of this. Then the patients often come in with 8 or 9 different primary issues or symptoms. So it's, how do you begin to tease apart all this? Often one of the main suspects is inflammation. And then given that this inflammation may be produced in greater quantities that they may not be able to eliminate or deal with effectively, that they can get backed up, which in itself creates this relapsing symptoms. A lot of my patients actually have inflammation in the nervous system, especially the midbrain, also, and that creates a lot of neurological issues, brain fog, memory recall, cognitive issues. So, these inflammatory cytokines can go through the blood-brain barrier and affect, the mental functioning. And then number 3, biofilms. When I actually gave a talk at this Southeastern PA Lyme group on biofilms about, 10 years ago. And I got up and I was really depressed because of reading about how difficult they are and how they're everything all resistant and all that stuff. And I got up in front of the crowd, and there's about like 60 people in the audience. And I said, I've been researching biofilms, and basically we're all screwed. And everyone started laughing. I was like, I didn't expect this, because I was like really depressed and bummed. Like, how can we overcome these things? And this woman in the front row goes, we already do that. So anyway, biofilms are basically slime. We've been slime. Everybody seen Ghostbusters? These are like the tiny little ghosts that come in and slime you, and they hide from your immune system. They hide from antibiotics. They hide from herbal remedies under the slime. And basically, there can be multiple pathogens in a biofilm. That could be, bacteria. It could be parasites. could be fungi, and they communicate with each other. They don't fight against each other. They collaborate using something called quorum sensing, which is little communication molecules. They swap back and forth. And through that, they can also swap drug-resistant genes. And they've shown that under biofilms, pathogens can acquire drug resistance from other species. And then also, when they've analyzed biofilms, that they find that they maybe become more, difficult to penetrate because in the biofilm, which is basically a polysaccharide, slimy stuff, that it also can, with some patients or some samples they've extracted, calcium, magnesium, iron, other minerals and metals make it more difficult, more less harder to penetrate.
Do you
So
advise your patients to stop taking minerals while they're being treated for this, or how do you
I
approach that?
there's if they can get it more through natural food sources, that's what I have them do. But a lot of patients will do magnesium, whether it be oral or through Epsom salt baths. Iron tends to be an issue in a lot of patients because it's pro-inflammatory. But yeah, a lot of patients are actually demineralized just because, because a lot of patients that I see have something called cryptopyluria, where they're actually peeing out their minerals. So they need to
Mhm.
supplement with zinc and other minerals to help replace what they're losing. So yeah, it's really a kind of like, okay, we want them to have proper mineralization and vitamins, and we also know that some of those may be used to make the biofilms a little more impenetrable. But we'll get to some powerful remedies, essential oils that can help you with those things. So it's it's more a minor concern as opposed to a major concern. So biofilms are also where they can withdraw, hide out. A person's on a drug regimen and they get off of it, and then they can reemerge later and flare up symptoms. All right, shall we move on to number 4? Co-infections. As I said, over 80 different ones can be transmitted by a tick bite. It doesn't mean every tick has it, but when they've analyzed ticks and seen what infections that these, are often, I would say this is the norm. The patients that I see, they have 4 or more different infections,
Mm.
including Lyme, but also co-infections, viruses, fungi, parasites, bacteria. And they may have got it from a tick, they may have got it from other sources. However, this is the norm that I'm seeing in patients. Maybe
Mhm.
like 15 years ago, I would see a patient with just Lyme as the main issue, but now it's multiple infections, making it
Mhm.
a much more complex symptom and treatment picture to help a person with. And
Yeah,
so,
in the area in the Northeast where I live, when they test the ticks, I would say close to 2/3 are carrying multiple co-infections.
yeah. So you may, if you've been around the tick world or the Lyme world, the 2 most common ones that I'm seeing are one called Bartonella, which is a rod-shaped bacteria, and a protozoa called Babesia, which is like malaria. So in Chinese medicine, we have a huge history because malaria was, throughout China and different, especially in the southern regions, in the warmer, more humid regions, we have obviously mosquitoes, and there's a lot of more herbals and treatments for treating malaria, which can be helpful for patients that have Babesia. So these co-infections also produce toxins, and that can also create relapsing symptoms. And as I mentioned, they're actually even finding like nematodes in ticks that supposedly have been able to be transmitted in different studies that they do from the tick into a host. So the theory is, okay, we're getting not just Lyme, we're not just getting co-infections, but we're getting all these other things that they are, have in their guts.
Mm.
So And there was one study that Dr. Alan McDonald did of brains from the Harvard Brain Bank of patients that had like glioblastoma, and I think it was one kind of dementia, it was Lewy body dementia, that he found parasitic worms, and within the parasitic worms in these brain samples, there was Borrelia, there was Lyme disease. So Lyme can hide in bigger things. And so when you kill off the bigger parasites, you're often then releasing maybe viruses and bacteria that are within those parasites into the patient. So it's kind of you need to be aware of that if you're treating these larger infections. And then environmental mold is one of the bigger issues that I'm seeing more and more of, because we have roof leak in a home, or someone's car leaks, or at work they have a place where it's not well, there's whatever water damage that's creating mold to be able to grow in those environments. And so one aspect of the toxic environmental molds is that they produce airborne spores to propagate through an environment. And the spores are actually food for bacteria. So what the mold does, it attaches a toxin to it. And so that prevents, bacteria try to eat it, then the toxin kills them. And so that's why you have the airborne concerns of water damage like behind walls, and you don't see any mold, but the airborne spores, the airborne toxins can come through and get people more sick. I've heard it, dozens and dozens of times when patients, I'm just not getting better, I'm taking all these remedies, doing these treatments, and I found mold in my house, or I found mold at work, and boom, when I get out of that environment, I feel so much better. So it's like this, this continual inundation of toxins that's really slowing down their progress and maybe actually making them worse. Because unfortunately, according to Dr. Richie Shoemaker, who did a lot of pioneering work around mold and biotoxin illnesses, he found about 25% of his patients lack the genes, these are human leukocyte antigen genes, or HLA genes, to be able to tag the mycotoxins with an antibody and eliminate it. So these people then are like this continual toxic, are unable to dump these effectively, and they become more and more toxic and more symptomatic. So
Greg, do you find there are some people that are just more prone to reacting to mold? Because I think a lot of us are exposed to it, but maybe if somebody has a damp type constitution, or is there any other correlates that you've seen of people who are very sensitive to mold?
there are some people who, they have an allergic history, of reacting to these kind of like allergens or toxins. They often, I'm seeing patients also diagnosed with something called mast cell activation, where your mast cells are like your first line of defense against pathogens, allergens, toxins, and they can release histamine and hundreds of other compounds. And in some patients, it's like these mast cells are so activated that they are just cranking out all these inflammatory compounds, and the person just becomes this, an inflamed soup that needs to be dealt with first, like calming that down, cleaning out the whatever's triggering the mast cells to overactivate. And so that's one of the groups of patients that I'm seeing. Also, I kind of like, with some patients, we will ask them to do their HLA genetics with their Lyme doc, and some of them already have done it. And then we can see with those patients, they have difficulty getting rid of toxins. And they may be not only with mold toxins, it could be also with other bacterial biotoxins like Babesia and Lyme, they have difficulty with also. So, it's a matter of what are the ways we can get to these toxins, either neutralize them or draw them out of the patient. So I'll be talking about some essential oils to help with that. All right.
Yeah.
Yay, let's go. So for biotoxins that are produced by Lyme and co-infections, one of the main essential oils we use is turmeric. Now, turmeric, in different studies, it lowers endotoxins and also mycotoxins, which are from fungal mold. It's great as an anti-inflammatory and also has some anti-protozoal properties in different lab studies. And another one is fennel. Fennel is great for the gut. It's also wonderful for neutralizing several different kinds of toxins. So it's another go-to for, especially if a patient has like gut issues, leaky gut, or bloating, or other things that are going on due to some sort of gut toxin that's creating the relapsing symptoms.
Are you going to talk about how these are utilized later, or I'm just wondering how
Yes,
much
of
you
course.
use topically and which internally?
Well, we're going to talk about two of the main ones that I have, but we have I'll run through and I'll get as much as I can.
Okay.
So the next one is inflammation. One of our main go-tos is Eucalyptus globulus, and in different lab studies, it reduces multiple inflammatory compounds that are often elevated in Lyme patients and co-infection patients. Another great one, this is probably the most researched essential oil, is lavender. And it also lowers multiple inflammatory compounds. So those
And
are
you're
two.
using lavandula angustifolia there?
Yeah, lavender angustifolia. And for biofilms, there's research out of Hopkins that shows cinnamon bark will inhibit the Lyme biofilms at totally, there's no regrowth, I think, after 14 or 21 days after the biofilms and other drug-resistant, what they call persisters of Lyme disease, are treated with cinnamon bark. And so in other studies, it also is effective against candida, because a lot of my patients who've received months or years of antibiotics may have a candida overgrowth due to the antibiotics killing off of their healthy gut flora, and then candida being able to then grow. And also staphylococcus. In Dr. Richie Shoemaker's work, he found in 2 weeks of his patients getting antibiotics, he found drug-resistant staph in their sinuses. So one of the great things about cinnamon bark is it can cut through the staph biofilms. And also one of the ones that is this very powerful essential oil to be used in very small quantities is garlic. Because basically you give this to a patient, then everyone around them will be like, wow, you really are going to keep the Dracula away, aren't you? That was what one guy said to me. It's just like, okay. And in studies, it inhibits Lyme and candida biofilms. So it's really a very powerful in many ways, so you may have a different, but now with social distancing, it'll help you to maintain social distancing.
Even when the pandemic's over.
There you go. And then co-infections. One of the two oils we use are cinnamon bark, again, inhibits Bartonella, brucellosis, and Mycoplasma. Those are 3 bacteria that can be found in ticks that they can transmit. And also oregano, which inhibits Bartonella, brucella, and also different species of malaria, which is very similar to the protozoa Babesia. Mm-hmm. And number 5 is, how do we deal with environmental mold? Because a lot of people don't even know it until they get out of environment or they do some sort of testing, urine testing for metabolites. Rosemary is effective against candida, aspergillus, fusarium, and it also reduces mycotoxins in different experiments. So these oils have multiple properties that can be helpful for these patients, not only to reduce toxicity, but also, some patients are colonized in their sinuses, on their skin, or in their gut. And so depending on where we find it or where we suspect it is, then we can start to deliver these oils more directly into those areas. And also clovebud. Clovebud is a great antimicrobial and has against these other fungi, mold species, and also reduces mycotoxins. So one of the main ways that we work with patients when they come in for treatment, yes, we are seeing patients, is that we give it to them sublingual. And what we'll do is we'll use a carrier oil, 90% carrier oil, and then 10% of an essential oil of the different ones. Usually, if a person's inflamed or toxic, then we'll go to those anti-inflammatory or antitoxin essential oils I mentioned earlier, like lavender or turmeric, and put that under their tongue. And that can then begin to diffuse, especially if they have neurological symptoms, through the lymphatic system into the nervous system. And also, there's a lot of capillaries around the mouth, so it'll diffuse into the blood and through that into the nervous system also. And I've had patients come in and they're like, their mind just can't shut off and they can't sleep. And using things like lavender under sublingual, I can just see their mind calming down, their anxiety reducing, their inflammation just, getting more less, activated within as short as like 15 minutes. And, sometimes I'll do multiple sublingual oils on a patient. First, I'll do testing on them, see which ones are optimal for them, and then give them to them sublingual while they're getting like Chinese medicine treatments and microcurrent and, hydrogen therapy and other things that we do. And then also, one of the great things I learned about from a Dr. Klinghardt was the value of making things into microparticles, or what he called liposomes. And so what we'll do with patients is we'll custom formulate their essential oils, and when they're ready, we'll formulate them into a microparticle. Microparticles go deeper into the cells in different studies, into the brain, into organs, and under and into biofilms more effectively. And so these are the hiding places, the reservoirs where we are wanting to deliver the antitoxin, anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial essential oils. And this has been a game changer for so many patients in terms of getting past their plateau where they don't feel like they're improving, or they're keep hitting those relapsing symptoms. It really seems to take the medicine deeper into where it's needed and create that improvement in their symptoms. So those are the two game-changing ones. The sublingual one that practitioners or listeners can look at right away, and obviously you want to see at what's safe internal dosing, because a lot of people out there have said, hey, don't use the essential oils internally. But fortunately, there's research, there's a publication, Essential Oil Safety, 2nd edition by Robert Tisserand, that shows, hey, these are safe dermal, topical, and also internal dosing levels for different essential oils. And that's been
meaning just certain ones, or in general?
There's probably, I don't know, over 900, or I don't know. There's like hundreds of oils in this publication, and not all of them have internal dosing guidelines, because obviously some are maybe toxic or have toxic compounds. But he goes over the research that's existing for different oils, and then what dosages are recommended as a maximum dose to be taken internally. So that's been a godsend for us in terms of delivering these oils safely and effectively internally in patients. And then also, we're offering a free report for listeners and the top 5 essential oils that we use for Lyme disease. And you can get that at our website, goodbyelyme.com/AAC. And again, thank you, AAC, for generously allowing us to come on and provide this information to help our colleagues, because I think this has been a game changer for so many patients with Lyme disease. So, all right. So at this point, I'll turn it back to you, Virginia.
That's great. So you know how to reach Greg then. And if you want to reach me, it's luminousbeauty.com. And again, thank you to the American Acupuncture Council. And I believe that we have Yair Mamon as a guest next week. So until then, goodbye.
Bye. Thank you.